library in Pima County. Sorry. And the second project we did was with Aho Library, both of them in Pima County. What we did was to provide them, of course, the internet access through the E-rate program, but also provided them with medical kits, a backpack, things that could fit in a backpack, weigh scale, blood pressure equipment, blood glucometer, pulse oximeter, and things like that. And the libraries had these kits available they had it available every day, but they would also provide access to it on National Health Day or their Community Health Day. And they demonstrated and showed people how you can access your healthcare provider wherever they are, specialists and pre-op care, post-op care, everything through the library. So that's what we did at Arivaca. We demonstrated it at the library during a healthcare event. The kit is available with them and for use, and it is being used at the library. They could also take it out on their bookmobile to rural areas, and the bookmobile is also equipped with an antenna. So they could take it to any of the rural areas and provide access to their health service provider through these kits. Same kind of kit is available at the Aho Library currently, and we did a demo there as well. And in the summer, we are planning to spread this to the Navajo Nation as well as the Tohono O'odham tribes. We are trying to reach the tribes through a program, Scanning Liver as well, doing this. Plus, in addition to that, with funding from NIH, a collaborative funding to do liver scanning as a preventive measure for cancer. That's in the summer. Back to you, Steve. Unless there
back to Todd. Todd, do you have any thoughts or comments?
No, absolutely, Mala. And I do know that I think I've listened to a couple of your presentations over the last week or so, and absolutely, I think that we're trying to accomplish very similar things. And so yes. We really would love to have you if you're able to make our this workshop on May 9th, and kind of I think that's exactly what we're hoping you'll be able to bring some representatives from the Navajo Nation specifically. But also kind of a part of broader Northern Arizona and actually rural Arizona from all pockets is definitely what we're hoping to channel here and just bring together some of those groups. So really hope you'll be able to attend on May 9th.
Sure, definitely we'll plan to attend.
Absolutely, and I'm sure you and I could maybe try to touch base before then to provide a little bit more perspective on some of the resources potentially NACOG can help bring to the table to support your exciting efforts. So.
Sure. I put my contact information in the chat for you.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you. This is perfect. Great connections. Thank you so much, Steve. This is really, really helpful.
Well, so, Todd, I mean, we've all recognized forever, and of course, with the issues that Mala has just been talking about, that we sort of all recognize that there's been issues about people being able to access healthcare, particularly during the pandemic. But this really kind of emphasizes where the intersection is between transportation issues and access to healthcare. So it adds, I guess, another dimension to a lot of the discussions that we've been having in terms of getting people connected and access to healthcare and so forth.
Absolutely. I guess just selfishly from a transportation standpoint, I mean, I think it can just be one of the most impactful things to cut down that distance. So I think that there's going to be a great opportunity to be able to harness some of the transportation providers and their resources, their drivers, even potentially to help support some of these elements. So, because it's far cheaper than driving 4 hours to Phoenix. So,
yeah, I can appreciate that since I'm in Tucson and trying not to make that trip to Phoenix. Anyway, great. Thanks, Todd. Thanks for being here today. And I'm going to go back to sharing my screen just to talk about the agenda for a minute. PJ, are you online yet? I didn't see you yet. He's not here just yet. Okay, so there's a couple of folks who are online who are recipients of the Affordable Connectivity Outreach Grants. And if we could get a quick update Lupe, I know you're online. Can you give us the most recent update on what's happening?
Yeah, so on our end, we're just waiting for the NOA to come through. But on what we're doing concurrently is we're already working with our talent acquisition team to kind of get the positions that we want to get up, that we're going to hire for up and going. And so that way, when it's ready and we're ready to move forward, we can just have them published and we don't have to wait for just like, we have some process in the back end. So we're trying to get that going and kind of already have our plan going to, and so we're just waiting for that so we can start implementing, and our goal is to start implementing in the summer.
Cool. Any questions for Lupe? So Grant, I think I saw you online, Grant Evans.
Yeah, I'm on here. Thanks, Steve. I don't really have anything new since a couple weeks ago. Likewise, as Lupe said, we're also kind of waiting, but working on our program internally. So all internal work right now, just trying to make sure that we can hit the ground running here once we're free to do so.
Grant, can you tell people where you are?
Navajo, yeah. So Navajo County, and so we've got the tribal connectivity FCC ACP outreach grant on that side of the pot of money from this grant program.
Okay. Do we have anybody else from any of the other programs online that I'm missing? Don't think so. Okay. So still waiting for PJ to join us here. So in the meantime, Mala, do you have anything else that you want to report regarding the libraries?
I'm not sure I mentioned about the E-rate application for Arizona at the last meeting. The filing window closed on March 28th, and Arizona had 1,222 applications. Fewer applications because we have we're moving slowly towards more consortial applications so that schools, libraries apply together, school districts, library districts apply together instead of applying individually. The pre-discounted amount that we applied for is about $116 million. And if all of those applications get approved, we should get back to the state about $86.6 million back in E-rate reimbursements. So this is a huge chunk of money to get our libraries and schools connected, but thankfully, thank goodness for E-rate, we're getting that money back. We've also, state master contracts has helped lower the cost. It has helped increase the availability, especially in the rural areas. And cost per Mbps has gone down quite a bit in the last 10 years. So we are almost getting $1 per meg right now in some places. It also takes the burden, consortial applications actually take the burden of managing the network off of the small and rural libraries that really don't have a special IT person on their team and share IT people with the city or with their county governments. So this is actually working good in all different ways. And USAC has also been very proactively approving these applications, and more than half of the applications nationwide have been reviewed and are ready for funding, which is remarkable because we do expect to have the funding before 1st of July. It never happens though. Even though the school year and the library year begins at that time, applications are never approved that early. Hopefully this year we will have that done. I'm going to, as soon as I finish speaking, I will put a link in the chat. This is for those of you who are school and library applicants, or if you know of school and library applicants. This is a survey done by Funds for Learning, and they do an annual survey, and the results of the survey is anonymous, of course, but the results will be aggregated and submitted to FCC for any guidelines and rule changes that may be necessary for the following year. And of course, as we all know, definitely there is going to be a lot of comments on cybersecurity and the need for having that reimbursed through the E-rate program. The last thing I wanted to say is about the tribal library E-rate, and FCC is working on simplifying the tribal library schools and libraries E-rate application. Comments were due today, but they've extended the deadline. And already there are a lot of comments from SECA, which is the State E-rate Coordinators Alliance, from ALA, which is the American Library Association, and several other organizations, including Shelby, which is the Schools, Health, Libraries, Broadband Coalition. And they have, one of the comments that they had asked for was about funding tribal college libraries, but if they serve the public. In many of the rural areas, they do double up and serve as the public library. And as long as there are no restrictions for the public to use the college library, they should be E-rate eligible, is what some of the is specified in some of the comments that were posted. They've identified about 19 such college libraries that could be possibly funded through the E-rate program. Again, we've got to be really careful about pushing some of these, to expand the eligible entities base, because the money is fixed and the annual budget is fixed, and this will be spreading it thin as we try to spread it out more. Of course, participation in the program isn't 100%, so there is room for including entities, tribal entities that have so far not been eligible for applying, which is the same argument we're saying about including, so for cybersecurity as well. So we're all there. There's also comments about asking for a higher discount rate for tribal entities, especially in category 2, which is capped at 85% discount. So they have to bear the remaining 15%, but they want to increase that to 90%. So they would have to only bear 10% of category 2, which is internal connections. I don't have anything else. Steve, back to you,
Okay.
Unless there are any questions.
Okay, thanks, Mala. And as always, you and Mylan have done an awesome job in bringing lots of money to the state through E-rate. So really appreciate all your hard work.
Thank you.
Aaron, do you have anything else that you want to add?
Just really quick, want to wish everybody a happy National Library Week. And tomorrow is National Library Workers Day. So if you have an opportunity to thank someone who works in a library, tomorrow is a fantastic day to do it.
Well,
Take
thank you,
librarian to
Aaron
work.
and Mala.
Hey, Holly, I don't think you're online today, are you?
No, Holly is at the Leadership Institute that is happening for folks in libraries this week. And so we're a little short-staffed on the ground as far as state library staff are concerned, because they're all busy teaching people.
Okay, anything else or any questions for Aaron or Mala? Okay, moving on. Excuse me, as I mentioned, Janet is sick and of course is not here today. Philip Sang, Department of Education, you have anything you want to share with us today?
At this time, we're finalizing our 2023 capacity assessment for K-12s. We're hoping to have that released early next week. Big goal is to gather information from LEAs, understand where they're at, with their IT department, policies and procedures, and kind of providing with resources instead of just sending out questions, just to send out questions. So that's what we're trying to finalize right now and get out by next week.
Philip, what's the status with Ryan and their funding to be able to continue to support the schools with cybersecurity?
It is still unchanged. To my knowledge, it's just changed into a line item through 2024. I know they're working internally with the governor's office to keep the program moving forward. In terms of, more granular details, I don't know anything else beyond that.
Okay, thank you. And Karina, I don't think you're online, are you?
No, she's not.
Okay, so going back to, excuse me, PJ, are you online yet? I don't believe so. Nope, he's not here yet. Well, I'm going to stop sharing.
Steve, do you want me to spend just a minute on the Department of Commerce open grant opportunities?
Sure.
Mark Goldstein here. So Community Connect comes around periodically. I don't know, fourth or fifth round now, maybe over the years. And there's a new round. They've raised a limit to $5 million. That's for construction of infrastructure, broadband last mile infrastructure in a single contiguous place, no more than one place. But the new limit's 5 million, and applications due June 20th. Also due June 20th, though, is a brand new program, as far as I'm aware, broadband technical assistance, and that's more like community planning grants, potentially, or for broadband providers to fund communities or broadband providers fund studies and designs and work to form co-ops. So there's 3 distinct categories. In one category, grants are limited to 250,000, and in the other 2 categories, $1 million, but there is only 20 million, so it will be competitive. And the links to their landing pages are in the chat.
Hey, thanks, Mark. Any questions for Mark? So, John Kelly, can I put you on the spot? Anything lately happening with the legislature that we don't want to know about?
It was spring break at the legislature this past week as they attempt to find a replacement for Representative Liz Harris, who was expelled by her colleagues. And so nothing happened. Lots and lots of rumors about potentially a budget deal in the next 2 or 3 weeks or so. I think more like 5 or 6 weeks, because they'll get into the difficult stuff. But the most important thing for this group to know is that in January, the end of year balance was estimated to be about $1.8 billion. And it's looking like the end of year balance is going to be closer to 2.5, so an additional $750 million that they didn't anticipate. So things are still looking pretty good from a fiscal standpoint, but the behavior of the legislators and the level of discussions is still problematic. So we'll see how it goes. But I know I had some contact with people. We're still pushing on some of the broadband budget items that we talked about a couple weeks ago. In particular, I'm pushing on the E-rate matching grant program that helps with special construction projects. And I think some people on this call were also interested in, there was a bill banning the use of TikTok on state-owned devices. Meantime, the governor did sign an executive order implementing kind of a general ban of the use of TikTok on state-owned devices. So that bill is, we'll see if it moves forward. I don't think it's necessarily going to move forward. And then there was another bill related to it was the bill we briefed about in terms of, I think Cox was pushing it, having to do with the 30-day shot clock for approval of permits for telecom within 30 days in underserved or unserved areas. That bill is not going to move forward. They're going to work on some issues in the interim to maybe bring that back next year.
So it's definitely dead for this year.
It is definitely dead for this year.
Any questions for John? Going once.
John, there was, you mentioned the E-rate matching. Is there any life left to the governor's $50 million proposal for bead match, essentially bead matching funds?
I don't really have an insight into, which of those items are going to be maintain a priority. They're sort of dividing up into what they call toxic issues and non-toxic issues. The toxic issues are those issues where if one person gets it, another person goes off the budget. So I would describe these as fairly non-toxic. They leverage federal funds. So I think they're in pretty good shape, but at this point, nobody knows. And so everybody, I'm seeing all these letters going around with business logos on them and community organization logos saying, we support this, and we support this, and we support this. So it's logo letter time. Meantime, we're all trying to talk to as many people as we can.
Thank you.
Anybody have anything else that they want to talk about or announce? And I still don't see PJ.
John, I think maybe I missed it when you're talking about the E-rate special construction fund. Is that a legislative action, or is that coming from the governor's budget, or a revamp of the ACC's special fund set aside?
So thank you, Nicole, great question. So Mylan and I were working last year to try to get the governor's office to look at options to recapitalize that original ACC money. We were looking at different federal funding options, but you can't leverage federal money with federal money, which is kind of problematic. So the governor's office put it in her budget request, 5 million. So it's trucking along, and we just don't know. I've had conversations with the governor's budget office. As you recall, this governor put together the budget within about 30 days of being named governor. So I don't know if they knew everything that was in the budget. So we're helping to educate them and other members of the legislature as to just how much that fund has leveraged in the past. I was looking at Mylan's Broadband for Arizona page, and it was like 108 projects over the last 5 years. And there are about 46 school districts with contracts expiring in the next 2 to 3 years. So it could go a long way.
The last time when we got the 3 million from the governor's budget and 8 million appropriation from the education from the 11 million actually brought us about $120 million worth from E-rate, from USAC, to do the fiber build out. We still have, I think, less than $1 million left, to finish that, but I think it's committed.
Yeah,
But
that's right.
it's just an ongoing thing, and it really leverages a lot of funds from USAC to do this. It was just a 5% match, but that worked well.
Well, so we're just trying to get the word out. I'm working on a one-page, or it's now one-page double-sided, to make sure people understand it. I met with one member of the legislature who's in a decision-making posture, and he said, "What's E-rate?" And so,
Oh, no.
so I had to go back a little bit and go, okay, here's what I did. How many times has anybody in this call written something about E-rate, explaining what E-rate is? How many times have you done it? I've done it maybe 50 times, right? So this time I said, instead of doing that, or even going to my files and copying and pasting from something I've written in the past, I went to the Bing Compose AI thing and said, tell me about E-rate. And so I copied and pasted, I did a little edits. It saved me about 15 minutes. So.
Yeah, that E-rates, that stuff is pretty amazing, isn't it? I'm just starting to play around with it. Okay, any other questions or comments for John? If not, I see Philip, PJ, you finally are able to join us, so I'm going to turn it over to you. And did you want to share something? I think you had a presentation.
Yeah. I think I sent that to you also, but I have that here. I could pull that up, I believe,
Okay,
and then share it that way too. Let me get that.
so while he's doing that, PJ is the broadband manager, is that the correct title with Yuma County?
It is. Yep, that is correct. Let me see here. Actually, okay. So yeah, thank you, everybody. Yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what Yuma County is doing. We're obviously pursuing a middle mile network. Inside Arizona, apparently there's obviously 2 counties that are building a middle mile network. The other is Navajo County and Yuma County. So what I'm going to just share is kind of the current status, something that was presented to the board, so you guys get a sense of what's happening in Yuma and how it's building out. So with the ARPA funds, this basically started with the ARPA fund project. So with that amount of dollars, we had about 20.7 million that was dedicated from the county.
Excuse me, Philip, were you going to share or not?
I sure will. Yep. Let me pull that
Okay,
up here.
it's, you don't, if you don't want to, that's fine. I'm just
No, not a
not
problem.
seeing it, so.
Easy enough. Let's see here. Perfect. All right. Can
There you
everybody
go.
see it okay?
Yep,
All right, great. So the county itself has put in about 20.7 million, and there's another 40 that came from ARPA funding. And what we're doing is essentially building inside of Yuma County a redundant ring network. So this is going to be middle mile service. The middle mile service is going to be constructed so that it's going to be owned by the county, operated and maintained by a third party that's in partnership with the county on this, and that's Allo Communications. And they're doing all the infrastructure build. And when this is only the first phase, what you're seeing here, we actually have a second phase and then a potential third phase. The second phase is going to go from Yuma to the east out towards Dateland. And I'll illustrate that here in the next slide. What I'm showing you on these 3, you can see that we have planned dark fiber under construction and dark fiber. Our primary area that's been constructed already is in the upper right-hand corner of that map. There's the yellow. The yellow is actually what dark fiber we have. So when I had arrived about 10 weeks ago, there was a 0% completion on fiber installation. We now have completed the first section and working diligently on the second and third sections, as well as we have progress in other areas. So what you're seeing is this information is about 2 weeks old. We have 170 miles total of fiber to be putting in the ground. And phase 1A is now 100% complete across the board. Phase 2 is significantly higher, and as well as B and C are started for 2B and C, and 1B and C are also higher in percentages. And we're to be on track, right? Measurements of how do you measure on track? What we're doing is we're using the test of ARPA funding. The ARPA funding requirements are to be expended by December of 2024. The goal, however, is to have our infrastructure built out by the end of December 2023 for the first phase. So I want the first phase completed by this December, which is about 75, 80 miles worth of construction. We have that first leg in. We are working through some of the process, which I'll illustrate here a little bit further. Our provider has gone ahead and doubled capacity so we can get this in the ground a little faster, building out the conduit and fiber following up immediately after. Other updates to the middle mile challenge we've been facing. So if any county is looking to do this, a couple things that are maybe lessons learned already early in this phase is water permits. Obviously, each region of our state has different challenges or different unique challenges to it. So perhaps in Coconino County, it may be right-of-way access in specific tribal areas. Down in Yuma, it's water crossings. There are a significant number of water crossings in that area. So we have 119 permits that are required from the Yuma County Water Users Association, and 24 from the county itself. That's not including anything from the city, and the city has actually completed most of theirs as well. Board of Reclamation is another one that we work with very closely. So the Water Users Association has 119. As I said, county has 24. The county has all 24 of their permits issued. Yuma County Water Users Association, however, there's only a handful that have been issued for the first phase. The rest, we have about 115 that are not issued yet. Now, what we're doing to resolve some of those challenges is working with the Users Association to help streamline the approval process, where we've built checklists. There's actually a checklist that's been developed by the Users Association on what it means for water crossing. So how they do the validation process to ensure construction is good and there's not any interference or problems they're concerned with. We have weekly communications. We've set up a standard group for communicating across the board. I'll share a little more on that in a second. Working with irrigation districts, Board of Reclamation in the city of Yuma for additional permits as required. As we're building a little further east, we have to start looking at those irrigation districts, and we're already in communication and getting that lined up. Obviously, the key thing here also is establishing a cadence with the broadband office, and a cadence being trying to do a weekly check-in or some form of communication to find out what the status is. And we've all had the most recent update. So that's kind of the last update that I've had. Other developments, we have bi-weekly calls with between our county and ALLO partners who are actually doing this construction. We're addressing our communication, engineering, permitting, planning. Again, kind of illustrating all of this so that if there's something in the works in your area, kind of the lessons we've learned, things we've established at this point. We do a Yuma County fiber progress touch point. So we talk across the county with the broadband manager from ALLO and address any status roadblocks or action items. And each week we assign who has what action items and expectations for delivery of that next week. Transparency, I would say that is probably a key one for any of us, is the transparency when we're building these types of projects, creating a dashboard where John Q. Public can observe what the information is and how to access it. So they know what kind of construction is going on. I mean, they see these ALLO trucks all over the place. They're just not sure what's happening and if it's going to be coming to their area. There's also the challenge that this is a middle mile project, not a final mile project. So people are wanting to get subscription services that aren't going to be available until a final mile provider establishes something. Key things to help define where the list of services, cost of services, and timeline for services. And that's related to the ISPs that will jump onto this middle mile network. So once the middle mile network is put in place, the question is what's next? You can see the little, on the right-hand side, the map, it shows Yuma, Somerton, San Luis, and then goes east to the foothills, Wellington, Tacna, and out to Dateland. Trying to work closely with ADOT in which areas they're coming into. So there's opportunities for right-of-way access and negotiations of how they can have access to specific tool sets when we can get the right-of-way access that's required for encroachment purposes. The infrastructure inside of, so this is the third phase. This will be the third phase, literally, is what's next is agricultural infrastructure. So we're trying to take a hard look at, for Yuma County, agriculture is a significant representation of the economy, not just for employment, but tax base, the opportunity for economic development, as well as workforce development. So we have about 180,000 acres of farmland. It's about 470 farms, give or take, in various sizes. And that infrastructure is what we're looking to do is have an infrastructure designed to help smart agriculture or ag tech, really to do precision farming. So this precision agriculture is going to help monitor water resources as one of our key elements. It's as we're all well aware that we have some water restrictions that are possible to come across, reduction of water consumption and water management. So this is helping Yuma County to maintain its water resources for farming and ag. And if you're not aware, in Yuma County provides about 90% of all the leafy greens to the entire United States for about 6 months out of the year. So if you take away 10% of the water, which takes away 10% of the crop, you're now taking 10% of the food source away from the country. So there is a cascade effect for these options. So when we look at what technology is providing, the infrastructure is going to provide the tools needed to provide precision agriculture, smart farm tech, autonomous tractors, intelligent weeding. There's a lot of artificial intelligence and machine learning that's going into this as well. How are we getting that funding? Part of that is through the SLFRF from the governor's office. There was an award that was out in December for $6 million to Yuma County for this specific project. That was recalled by the current governor, was put under review, documentation was resubmitted, and that's part of where I was a little late today, so I apologize. I was trying to follow up on actually what the status is. And there's a $6 million coming for that. There are community funding projects for those that are unaware that reach out to the congressmen or senators. They may have opportunities additionally for additional funding. So I've applied for community funding project request from Congressman Gallo, Senator Kelly, and Senator Sinema, all of which have given positive responses to the project and the effort that's been outlined. Some of the technology that we're looking to cover, everything. I'm evaluating resources right now. I've met with 2 companies already. I've got a third coming in 2 weeks. Going to help us take a look at different options for tower structures, monopoles, omnidirectional antennas, CBRS, LoRaWAN, and what other options might be available. Inside of Yuma County, because we're located near a military installation and there's a lot of air traffic, crop dusting is typically done at night for anything that needs to be done for the crops with flight. This tool set, what we're looking to do by building out this infrastructure is more drone usage would be empowered to do that same type of crop dusting and care for the plants. And it can be done in a much more dense population, because then you're not worried about high altitude air traffic. You're not worried about running into a lot of buildings. It's safer for the pilots in general. So we have a couple other outcomes that are looking on that. Key piece of thing, again, is communication. We're trying to define communication for cities of Somerton and San Luis. We want to promote visibility. One of the things that I may be doing here in the near future is posting a bi-monthly presentation on what the status is, where we've developed, what's been progressing, if we have holdups, just so the public knows, and additional ISPs that may be interested in participating can stay informed. They know what processes are and how to make requests to become part of that network. And that's really it. That's some of the work that we're doing right now in Yuma County.
Cool. Questions for PJ?
Is Allo going to be an ISP? I mean, it'll be open, but I'm assuming Allo will be an ISP on that as well.
Yes, Allo is going to be building out their separate part of that for the last mile as well.
Fantastic.
PJ, could you stop sharing, please?
Sure can. There you go.
There we go.
So
Any other questions or comments or thoughts?
Yeah, the other fiber resource in Yuma is WANRAC, which has contracts with the hospital and with the school collaborative. And should they interact with you and collaborate to make sure that you get access to all the things that you have available to you in the county?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's where what's happening is, so the way the RFP was designed was it was a build and then maintain and operate. So M&O is going to be also put with Allo to help facilitate that. So if people are interested in participating in part of the middle mile, the county is very interested to make sure we want to get as many people on that middle mile network as possible, because that gives options for all the businesses and community members. So yeah, anybody that's interested, feel free to reach out.
Okay.
So PJ, have people been required to pay licensing fees to be able to work on the middle mile?
You mean in order to participate and be on that?
Yeah.
On the middle mile? No, it's because this is all a fiber network. They're not required to do anything special. There's no application fees or anything strange like that at all.
Any other questions for PJ? Oh, you're a quiet group today. It's not even Monday morning, it's Monday afternoon. Are you all ready for your afternoon nap? Is that what's going on here?
No, I want to say, ask, how tall is going to be the largest pole?
Okay, any other updates, questions? If not, I think we could be done for today. So the plan is that next week we will do an update. I'm sorry, it wasn't about healthcare. It was talking about what's happening on the reservations in Indian country. So hopefully we'll be able to finally get that that discussion going next week. Anything else for the good of the order? If not, then we're going to stop recording, and anybody who wants to